Hi, I'm Marie Carr with PwC, and I am joined with my colleagues Jamie Yoder and Anand Rao. And we've been talking about Insurance 2020 and beyond, and many of the factors of disruption that are changing and reshaping the industry. Jamie, you've been looking at this a lot and the impact it's had on the value chain. Share a little bit of what you've been seeing in your discussions with executives and in the research.
We talked a lot about, when people look at sort of the incremental innovations that occur within the operating model itself, but when you really get to the full business model, and no place really if you thought the full value chain of insurance, this interplay really or collapsing of the value chain, if we look at the interaction between customers, brokers, carriers, reinsurers, and the capital markets, right, and how these things are playing. And in each case, everyone's looking at, well, okay, what more can happen? It's not just how do I do what I've always done a little better. It's to what degree can I play a more meaningful role? We see reinsurers who are trying to engage the end customers, not necessarily to displace that which comes between, but to reconsider how they can help generate demand and how they can create a greater connection along the way. Or the brokers who have a tremendous amount of information and the role they could potentially play and what implications that may mean between the carriers and the reinsurers or directly to the capital markets. And how that comes into it. There's certainly many points to add in that, but those shifts and some of the partnerships that have already been formed, I think, are creating great interest. Interest meaning both in terms of the threats and the opportunities that get created.
Yeah, basically you're seeing as the value chain, different elements of the value chain essentially being bypassed, right? So you have insurers going straight to consumers, you have reinsurers disintermediating the insurers and doing deals with the brokers or the employers in the commercial space. So there is much more, I think, transparency of information, and all the data that's now available makes it easier for people to be able to do that. And we are seeing that across all lines of business.
Or even to the point of the customers themselves, by having more information, while self-insured and some of those things for the more recent risk were for the largest of companies, to the degree that actually can come down in size for the basic risks, and then use it for the other types of risk of how they may place it. So not that that's not a new model, but the opportunities, and this is what we often talk about, the opportunities presented by a lot of the innovations and information that's occurring allow you to apply that in a much broader way than have previously.
Well, I think what's also interesting about this dynamic is you talk about entire parts of the value chain disappearing and people going direct. But I think your point earlier, it would be simple if it was just, everyone's now going direct and we're bypassing things that were there before. What is interesting in this dynamic is you have both things occurring. You have brokers who in one level could be bypassed, and so people are like, oh, agents, brokers, they're going away. But in another area, they're starting to kind of re-intermediate to create their own disruption in the power of the information that they have, the services that they're bringing, making themselves much more relevant. And so, the agents before, once again, yes, they are being bypassed because there are things that, consumers or your end customer can buy or service directly. But now that advice, that consultation, it tells me a little bit more about how I may be able to package things together, what types of risks I need to self-insure versus those things I can go out and do a different way. So you have more of a value-added player who has the tools and the mechanisms to be more relevant, and sometimes they're moving faster than the carriers in that discussion of relevancy.
So all we discussed now is more taking the insurance value chain and then looking at the disruptions or the disintermediations.